starts. So I'm going to do the most ill-advised thing possible, which is tell a couple of jokes. I wrote none of them.
You wrote them all.
I did. I take full credit, unless they're terrible. So I have the top 5 reasons to live in any given province. Which province would you like to hear first? BC. Top 5 reasons to live in British Columbia. 1, Vancouver, 1.5 million people and 2 bridges. You do the math. 2, for only your $400,000 Vancouver home is just 5 hours from downtown. 3, you can throw a rock and hit 3 Starbucks locations. It's kind of a New York joke, but they have a lot of them there. 4, there's always some sort of deforestation protest going on. And 5, weed. I'll do one more. I heard Alberta. I heard Montreal. That's not a province. I could do the really mean thing, which is put our American friends on the spot with asking some Canadian trivia, like number of provinces and stuff like that. But it wouldn't be pretty. Trust me. So Alberta. Is this for you?
For me? Sure.
All right. Top 5 reasons to live in Alberta. Number 1, there's a big rock between you and BC. This is 6 reasons. Cool. Number 2, Ottawa who? 3, taxes 5% instead of the approximate 200% it is for the rest of the country. 4, you can exploit almost any natural resource you can think of. I like that one. 5, you live in the only province that could actually afford to be its own country. I especially like that because I'm from Quebec, where they think they can be their own country. And number 6, the Americans below you are all in anti-government militia groups. All right, we'll do more a little later, I think, or not at all. Let's move on. So, everybody having an all right time? Got your coffee, Danish? Wonderful. So, coming up next. Are we all set here? It'll switch? Oh, good. But by the way, I want to, again, after the panels, again, the voting, we can track this stuff. You guys are doing great signing up for the feedback system. Would love to actually start getting a few pieces of feedback in. So maybe over lunch you could take a couple moments to drop in some thoughts. And thanks again to the wonderful sponsors. Without you, we'd all be working today. So let's bring up our next speaker. So Leonard Brody. So Leonard's a highly respected entrepreneur. Okay. Just kidding. He's a highly respected entrepreneur, a VC, a best-selling author, and a 2-time Emmy-nominated media visionary. He's helped in raising millions of dollars for startup companies, been through one of the largest internet IPOs in history, and has been involved in the building, financing, and or sale of 5 companies to date. In 2004, Len was the co-founder and CEO of NowPublic.com, which is a pioneer in the field of citizen journalism, and was recently acquired by the Anschutz Corporation. Currently, Leonard sits as the president of the Clarity Digital Group, responsible for overseeing one of the largest online news conglomerates in the world, including Examiner.com and NowPublic, which between them share over 20 million unique visitors a month and over 200,000 contributors. And wearing a bright pink shirt, Len Brody, come on up.
Thanks, Jeremy. So I was a little bit worried when hi, how are you? I was a little bit worried when I started that I was going to be swearing a little bit. Now I'm not worried about it after watching Dave. I've actually never seen the word fuck used as a verb, adjective, and noun in the same sentence. It's impressive. So I'm actually not going to talk about today what the program said I was going to talk about. Originally I was going to talk about sort of predicting what your life as an entrepreneur was going to be like over the next year, and I realized that who am I to tell you what your life is going to be like, because I barely know what mine is going to be like. So I figured it'd be more helpful to spend the half an hour really talking about 2 things. One is the stuff that I really wish people had told me before I began some 20-year career as being an entrepreneur, the stuff that really nobody talks about publicly a lot, the stuff that you're kind of embarrassed about but you kind of need to know, and stuff that would have saved me an incredible amount of time in what was an awkward and horrific journey over the last 20 years. And because I'm really the only one of the few Canadians speaking today, I thought it was important to talk amongst us about a lot of the typical Canadian bullshit that we project and create and live with under in the mythology of what we can and cannot do in this country. So let me get started. As I thought a little bit about my career over 20 years, I started looking through old pictures and I realized that in fact, the best way to show you my career was through the evolution of my hair. So it all began as a young kid in Calgary, where I began a small, although illicit business at Camp B'nai B'rith in Pine Lake, Alberta, running chocolate bars to the Christian camp across the road and selling them at a 20% markup. Didn't go well. We ended up getting busted, but career number one. Then on Via came around. I don't have as lush a do as I used to, but on Via came around and we worked hard and unfortunately left Canada and went down to the United States, and we built the company down in Seattle and went through the whole roller coaster of .com 1 and .com 2 and raised it up, raised a lot of money. I think we were, until Google IPO, the largest internet IPO in history prior to Google. And it was an amazing experience, but again got me thinking a lot about this country and why it was necessary for us to leave to do that. So I vowed that the next startup I would do would be in Canada, which brought me to a more serious era in my life, which was that of Now Public. And you will see the more serious side of my suit and tie eras as an entrepreneur in the Now Public days. So my life through my hair, you get a better sense of how, this beautiful do evolved over a period of time. But I think as we grow and as entrepreneurs grow throughout their time in their life, it's important to remember that really all we are is not servants of ourselves and servants of investors, but really servants of the customers we serve. And I think if you look, it's pretty easy, sorry, a bit of an American jab, it's a bit easy to be confused. It's easy to be confused for all kinds of reasons. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Firstly, I think the average person, forget about the people in this room who we all share our own confusion about everything from where the market's going to what we do every day, but also more importantly, I think people just in their general daily lives are confused. They're disoriented. And they're disoriented for good reason. If you look historically, if you asked most demographers and historians and said, point to a period in time which was the most formative in human history, they would probably, in some form or another, say from 1745 to around 1945. In that period of time, we saw industrialization, 2 world wars, and the Great Depression. We have, since 1993, experienced that exact same cycle, but in 17 years. So from a period of time where the pixelated revolution began in and around the early 1990s, to regional conflict, which in their sum total from Sudan and Rwanda and Iraq and Kuwait have now seen more dead than both world wars combined, to what Paul Kudrowski, and I agree with, has said is our current depression, which is the same state of where we were in 1929. But what happened to us in the 200-year period has now shrunk into a 17-year period. And in that time, human behavior has changed dramatically. We are fundamentally not the same people that we were a decade ago. Our behaviors and how we trust, how we interact, how we socialize, how we buy have all changed. So much of human behavior didn't change for almost 500 years in any significant way. And in fact, the problem that we live in now is most of our behavior does not match the institutions that we live in. Education, government, even the way we structure our businesses, for the most part, are based on Industrial Revolution concepts. We are misfits in our own world. So it is easy to understand, and I think the most important premise when you build a company from a high level is to understand that people are confused and people are disoriented. They may partake in social media, but they probably, beyond many people in this room, really don't know what they're doing there, don't understand why it's relevant, and they don't understand that it's more of a reflection of a change in human behavior when the gates came up than anything else. So I think it's just important to keep that in mind. And frankly, it was the most important lesson I learned as an entrepreneur, which is the one thing I'll share with you. Never engage in companies that require you to change human behavior. It is the most foolhardy errand you will undertake. The hardest businesses to run are the ones that somehow even require a slight shift to the right or to the left in human behavior. People are very set in their ways, and I'll give you a great example of this from Air Canada. A good friend of mine was the head of marketing at Air Canada, and they were super jazzed when the automated ticketing machine came in, because they thought people hate us, they hate talking to us, they don't like talking to people, we get more complaints than any other